Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network novel. Zongwu. Taohua Island has been invincible for 10 years. Xu Qingfeng travels through the world of comprehensive martial arts, where there are institutions such as the Eastern and Western factories of the Imperial Court, the Royal Guards, the Six Gates, and the Dragon Protection Villa. There are also wealthy sects such as Shaolin, Wudang, Beggar's Sect, Sun and Moon Divine Sect, Demon Master Palace, and Yin Kuei Sect. There are also martial arts myths such as the Five Wonders of the East Evil and West Poison, the Heavenly Sword, and the Lonely Striving for Defeat. Xu Qingfeng has access to the Check.in system, where he can receive divine skill pills and other benefits every time he signs in. Xu Qingfeng, who had signed in on Peach Blossom Island for 10 years, entered the martial arts world with an invincible posture. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in and obtaining the carefree ride. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Commitment Letter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adhere to originality and eliminate non-compliant commitment letters. Pen name, Qingfeng Zilai. Guarantee that this signed work belongs to my own original creation, and strictly follow the Feilu Writers' Convention during the creation process. I adhere to originality and prevent the following violations. If there are any violations, I am willing to bear all consequences arising from it. 1. Ensure that the signed work belongs to one's own original work and does not involve plagiarism or plot plagiarism in Chinese translation. 2. Ensure that no third-party works or plot are plagiarized during the creative process. 3. Ensure that this work is first published and the only contracted website on Feilu Novel Network. 3. Ensure compliance with laws and regulations during the creative process, including, but not limited to, violations such as not involving politics, not involving pornography, gambling, drugs, promoting cults, not ghostwriting, not blocking or abolishing manuscripts, not hosting, not selling works or accounts, etc. 4. Ensure that regardless of the word count of the work, the signed work must complete the plot, never end, and never stop or end. Feilu's novel, Fei wants you to look good. 001 The cultivation techniques of martial arts world, carefree and windward. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On Peach Blossom Island, dozens or hundreds of young people are full of energy, with straight bodies and solemn expressions. Today is the Taohua Island beginner ceremony. Those who pass the assessment can become disciples of Peach Blossom Island. On the contrary, one needs to leave Peach Blossom Island or become a servant of Peach Blossom Island, also known as a servant disciple, serving the island master and personal disciples, and cannot leave Peach Blossom Island for life. After a day of testing, these people who have read their names need to leave Peach Blossom Island before tomorrow. On the temporary high platform, there stand the core figures of Peach Blossom Island, including the island owner Huang Yaoshi, the island owner's wife Feng Heng, the personal disciples Qin Xianfeng, Mei Chaofeng, and the island owner's daughter Huang Rong. Among others. The elder on the side took out the scroll and slowly opened it. The list on it will determine the fate of the people below. Even disciples who perform well in the assessment are filled with anxiety and unease at this moment. At this moment, among these disciples, there was a handsome and extraordinary young man with sword eyebrows and starry eyes. He was scanning the four directions with a confused face, and his forehead was filled with many unknown question marks. Am I becoming a legendary traveler? Is your current location on Taohua Island? Xu Qingfeng murmured to himself in a voice that only he could hear. There is a hint of joy and excitement in my heart, as well as a hint of fear and unease. What excites him is that he has been longing for the world of martial arts since he was young in his past life, and he was alone in his past life, which can be considered as carefree, so he is most excited in his heart. But what made him feel uneasy was the original owner of this body's qualifications were not very good. He grew up on Peach Blossom Island from a young age and had a full family relationship. However, with his qualifications, he did not perform well in this entry-level assessment, and there was no hope of passing the assessment. Xu Qingfeng. When the elder read Xu Qingfeng's name, there was a clear expression of disappointment in his eyes. Xu Qingfeng showed such an expression as expected. Do the people whose names are mentioned above choose to leave Peach Blossom Island or stay forever as slaves on Peach Blossom Island? Please give a response before this afternoon. Congratulations to the disciples who did not recite their names and became the entry-level disciples of Peach Blossom Island. Now they come to pay their respects to the sect leader and 7 personally transmitted disciples. The elder continued to preside over the ceremony according to the procedure. Looking at the disciples who came forward and saluted their senior teachers, senior brothers, and sisters. Xu Qingfeng felt a little depressed and even noticed several disappointed gazes staring at him. After the grand ceremony, he followed the crowd listlessly and returned to the dilapidated residence of his miscellaneous disciples. Some mourned the spring and autumn, some remained silent, and some were ready to leave the island. Anyway, I must stay on Peach Blossom Island, even if I become a miscellaneous disciple. In terms of physical qualifications, Peach Blossom Island does not meet the standards, and other sects have little hope. Becoming a miscellaneous disciple, at least there is still a chance to learn some basic martial arts. Xu Qingfeng clenched his fists tightly, feeling very unwilling in his heart, but could only enjoy himself in such hardship. In fact, there is another main reason: this world is not any world he was familiar with in his previous life. This is a world of comprehensive martial arts, and the world map is very vast. There are Shaolin and Wudang in this world, as well as Cihang Jingzai and the 2 schools and 6 paths, as well as the Magician's Palace and the Dragon Protection Villa. The outside world is so dangerous, and with his current level of fighting scumbags, if he's not careful, he's very likely to fart. Just when Xu Qingfeng's thoughts were drifting away. Ding, the great martial arts check that IN system has been successfully activated, daily check that IN allowed. The more abundant the spiritual energy contained in the check.in location, the higher the quality of the items obtained during check.in. Each check.in consumes varying amounts of spiritual energy. A certain amount of spiritual energy can be restored every day. Please verify the specific situation yourself. Detected the spiritual energy value of the current miscellaneous disciples' residence, which is 3%. It is not recommended to sign in. A series of messages from the system rushed into Xu Qingfeng's mind. Let him freeze in place for an instant. 3 minutes later, Xu Qingfeng was overjoyed and asked, the great martial arts check-in system. He is not sure how powerful this system is, but he is very clear in his heart that he is most likely able to take off. Thinking of this, he immediately lifted his foot and walked out. The martial arts training ground for miscellaneous disciples has low spiritual energy, so it is not recommended to sign in. The miscellaneous disciples meeting hall has low spiritual energy and it is not recommended to sign in. Xu Qingfeng returned to the main hall of Peach Blossom Island on this journey. One of the symbolic buildings of the Peach Blossom Island sect, the Bibo Hall, was also the place where the fate of many miscellaneous disciples was just announced. The Bibo Hall has sufficient spiritual energy, so it is recommended to sign in. Must sign in. Stepping on the steps of the Blue Wave Hall, Xu Qingfeng had a wild and excited expression on his face, and he shouted low. Today's check.in was successful, earning the title of Leisure Wind. The carefree breeze. Xu Qingfeng couldn't believe it. The most mysterious martial arts technique in the Xiaoyao sect, known as the martial arts outline of the Xiaoyao sect. This Xiaoyao Yufeng is not an ordinary cultivation technique, it can be said to be a cultivation technique in the world of martial arts. The various divine arts and masterpieces spread by the Xiaoyao school have evolved from the Xiaoyao wind control. It can be said that all the techniques of the Xiaoyao sect can be found in their prototype in Xiaoyao Yufeng. It can be said that with Xiaoyao Yufeng, Xu Qingfeng is equivalent to learning the vast majority of martial arts from the Xiaoyao sect, and it is also a super doubled version. After the sound of the system falls, a wave of true qi is generated from within the body out of thin air. Accompanied by the transformation of true qi, there is also the sky above the blue wave hall. At this moment, it can be said that the wind and clouds are changing color, and a strong wind is rising. Peach blossoms are flying in the sky around, reflecting Xu Qingfeng. The Divine Weapon Pavilion on the island is one of the important areas of Peach Blossom Island, containing many divine weapons and weapons. Only the inner sect and disciples who have made significant contributions have the opportunity to enter and select their favorite divine weapons and weapons. At this moment, the divine weapons in the Divine Weapon Pavilion tremble and tremble, trying to break free from their constraints and go to pay homage to the king. What happened? Since the establishment of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, there has never been such a phenomenon. An elder rushed into the Divine Weapon Pavilion, driving his true energy to try to calm the commotion of these divine weapons, but it was of no use. He was completely powerless and didn't know what to do for a moment. What a terrifying aura fluctuation! Is there a divine weapon born? Or is someone promoted to the land immortal realm? Pharmacist, I feel a bit anxious and uneasy inside. Don't worry, with a promising husband around, please take it easy. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 002 quietly enters the village, no gunslingers, low. Key development. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Behind the main hall of the Bibbo Hall, many high-level officials looked at each other with fear and doubt, thinking of 2 possible scenarios. The true aura spreading throughout Peach Blossom Island is really terrifying. No, even if it's a land immortal, it's impossible for such a scene of thousands of divine weapons vying to worship. On the contrary, the emergence of peerless divine weapons has a great possibility of producing such a vision, but no one on Taohua Island can forge such a level of divine weapon. Headmaster Huang Yaoshi was very rational, but he couldn't help but imagine the possibility of what might happen. If this earth-shattering aura is related to Peach Blossom Island and triggered by its disciples, then the status of Peach Blossom Island will be elevated by several levels, and there are few forces in the martial arts world that can be shaken. All the high-level officials on the island rushed over to check the situation until the astonishing aura subsided. They couldn't find the source of this unusual aura, but one thing is for sure, the place with the strongest aura is in the Bibbo Hall. Because there is only one low-talent waste material near the Bibbo Hall at this moment. As I was about to leave Peach Blossom Island, why was there a mixed expression of surprise and joy on my face at this moment? Some of them frowned in displeasure. Qingfeng, why are you here? Madame Feng pursed her lips and hesitated to ask Xu Qingfeng, have you made a good choice? Master, Mrs. Huang. Xu Qingfeng suppressed his emotions and bowed. At the foot of the mountain, Feng picked up Xu Qingfeng, who was still a baby in swaddling clothes, and treated him like his own son. He ate and lived with Huang Rong, Chen Xianfeng, and others, treating Huang Yaoshi and Feng with teacher etiquette. But now everything has changed. He failed the entrance exam and the rules of Peach Blossom Island cannot be broken. If you want to stay on Peach Blossom Island, you have to be a servant disciple. The 2 are completely different, their identities are vastly different. Peach Blossom Island is my home, even if I become a servant disciple, I don't want to leave here. Xu Qingfeng said with a firm gaze, full of emotions towards this place because he had fused the memories of the original owner. Okay, it's best to stay on Peach Blossom Island. The martial arts world is dangerous, and living alone in the world is too dangerous. Just stay at Peach Blossom Island with peace of mind. Elderly, take Xu Qingfeng back to the Miscellaneous Disciples Academy and arrange some easier tasks for him. Feng sighed, and Huang Yaoshi shook his head. His face was filled with disappointment and embarrassment. Xu Qingfeng's qualifications were too poor, to the point where they wanted to be selfish and could not achieve it. This world is a grand world of comprehensive martial arts. Although Huang Yaoshi can be considered a top-notch expert, he is not the strongest group of people. Therefore, in order for Peach Blossom Island to have a long history, even as the head of the sect, Huang Yaoshi will not break the rules. As the saying goes, no rules, no circle. If he actively breaks the rules, the people below will be difficult to manage in the future. The two of them can only assign Xu Qingfeng a relatively easy job at most. Staring at Xu Qingfeng one by one, their eyes filled with disappointment or regret. Junior brother, don't lose heart. Senior sister believes you can do it. The difficulties in front of you are only temporary. When Xu Qingfeng and the elder returned to the residence of the miscellaneous disciples, Huang Rong caught up from behind and constantly encouraged Xu Qingfeng along the way. After all, we grew up together since childhood, and our relationship for over a decade cannot be easily broken. She treated Xu Qingfeng as her own younger brother and was worried that Xu Qingfeng might not be able to take it seriously, so she came along to comfort him. Xu Qingfeng nodded in a muffled voice. He was no longer the Xu Qingfeng that everyone on Peach Blossom Island knew, so he tried to speak as little as possible throughout the process to avoid saying too much and making too many mistakes, revealing flaws. While walking, he immersed himself in his mind and studied the wisp of true qi in his body, but even as he racked his brains, he couldn't drive the true qi in his body. From the perspective of outsiders, Xu Qingfeng at this time is a manifestation of being at a low point in his life, so he cannot detect his abnormalities. Huang Rong frowned and patted Xu Qingfeng's shoulder, vowing confidently, "Don't worry, my father is the island master. When I find the opportunity to talk to my father, you can at least take off your identity as a servant disciple and become an outer disciple of Peach Blossom Island." The elder with a goat beard twitched at the words, but cleverly pretended not to hear them. Shortly thereafter, a few people arrived at the miscellaneous disciples' academy. On the way, Huang Rong relied on her coquettish behavior to successfully get elderly to agree and take care of Xu Qingfeng at the miscellaneous disciples' meeting. The two of them also had a tacit understanding and did not ask for Xu Qingfeng's opinion. They directly determined the work that Xu Qingfeng's miscellaneous disciples were responsible for, patrolling the island. "Junior brother, let's start with this today. No matter what problems you encounter, come directly to Bibo Peak to find me without any psychological burden." Huang Rong pondered for a moment and felt that everything had been arranged properly. After staying for a long time, she was worried that it would stimulate Xu Qingfeng, so she gave a few words of advice and left. Xu Qingfeng's identity in Peach Blossom Island is quite unique, with connections such as Huang Yaoshi and Huang Rong. Even if he becomes the lowest level miscellaneous disciple, no one will make things difficult for him without looking at him. The elder had a friendly attitude and directly arranged for someone to clean up an empty room for Xu Qingfeng to live in, citing that the beds in the miscellaneous disciple courtyard were full. "Don't think this is normal, you should know that since the establishment of the miscellaneous disciple Feng, no one except Xu Qingfeng has been able to enjoy the treatment of a single dormitory. But there are currently only so many benefits that Xu Qingfeng's identity can bring. His qualifications are really poor, and his bones can be said to be extremely poor. Even though he grew up on Taohua Island from a young age and was personally taught by Huang Yaoshi and Feng Hang, he is now 16 years old and has such a big advantage. As a result, he still achieved a reciprocal score in the entry-level assessment of over 100 people. If we really cultivate him, how many times more resources would we need to invest in him?" Even though Huang Rong was absolutely confident in her words, she could not convince Huang Yaoshi because other high-level members of the sect could not agree. "You should know that this world is not any infinite world known in past life memories, but an unheard-of world of martial arts. But on the other hand, Xu Qingfeng is quite satisfied with his current situation, which is not worth paying attention to and is ordinary. This way, he can better conceal his secrets." The next morning, the miscellaneous disciples gathered at the square. The largest leader of the miscellaneous disciples academy, the elder of the central academy, Li Tai, along with several deputies, as usual, preached rules, taboos, and job changes in front of the square. Xu Qingfeng remained very low-key in the corner, while also fully understanding his current situation. Miscellaneous disciples are slaves, the lowest level beings on Peach Blossom Island. All kinds of miscellaneous and tiring work to serve people are the job responsibilities of miscellaneous disciples. As for the benefits that can be obtained, miscellaneous disciples can learn the most basic moves and mental techniques on Peach Blossom Island and are protected by Peach Blossom Island. And those who pass the entry-level assessment will automatically become external disciples, receiving monthly supply of elixirs, and in the worst case, they can also become third-rate martial artists in the martial arts world. Moreover, with the improvement of contributions and strength in the future, one can be promoted to become a disciple of the inner sect by passing the assessment of the inner sect. The ultimate goal is to become a personal disciple, so as to grow into the core of Peach Blossom Island. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 003, it's great to hang it up for a while, keep hanging it up for a while, it's always great. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Of course, the conditions for becoming a personal disciple are still very strict. Talent must be top-notch, with enormous potential for cultivation, and can only be achieved with the approval of senior management. Like Xu Qingfeng, the eldest senior brother of 3 generations of disciples, who entered Peach Blossom Island at the age of 6. At that time, his innate talent caused a sensation in the entire Peach Blossom Island, and he became a direct disciple, enjoying the abundant resources and cultivation of Peach Blossom Island. There are currently nearly 300 official disciples in Taohua Island, and there are also about so many people sent out. Taohua Island is also considered a major force in the southern region. Sign in to the Bibo Hall and congratulate the host on obtaining the rebirth pill. As noon approached, the senior management of the central hospital finally finished speaking, and Xu Qingfeng headed straight to the Bibo Hall at Bibo Peak to sign in. As expected, the system gave him a big surprise. The rebirth and bone transformation pill actually has this kind of pill. I don't have enough talent, I'll use cheats to make it. On the way back, Xu Qingfeng couldn't contain his inner ecstasy. He had already tried the true qi of Xiao Yufeng, but couldn't activate it for the time being. He immediately understood that his current strength was too weak, and his internal strength was so weak that it could be ignored. He took his life to activate that strand of true qi that could shake Peach Blossom Island. Even if he were really forcefully urged, his frail body would probably shatter directly. Last night, he had already tried to use the Peach Blossom Island heart technique, but he had been suffering from liver damage all night. The internal power he refined was so low that it was despairing, making him deeply realize how inferior his aptitude and talent were. There are 4 levels of talent. Heaven, Earth, Xian, and Huang. He doesn't even count as the lowest yellow level and is not considered mainstream. If it weren't for Feng Heng adopting him back then, he wouldn't even have the qualification to become a servant disciple. If his natural talent cannot be changed, even if he signs in for many divine skills, it is useless and he cannot cultivate at all. After all, internal strength is the foundation of all martial arts. Without the support of internal strength, all the gimmicks are paper tigers. After returning to the bedroom, he swallowed the rebirth pill. With a burst of muscle and bone resonance, a foul odor and filth were expelled from the pores of the whole body. His talent and bones have directly improved by more than 30%. He can just touch the yellow level talent. The effect of the rebirth and bone transformation pill will gradually decrease with the increase of usage, until it has no effect in the end. But Xu Qingfeng was not disappointed with this. After all, he had to eat every bite of food and couldn't become fat. In the evening, Huang Rong came and brought a cup of ginseng tonic soup, which Feng Heng had personally cooked. Huang Rong propped her chin and smiled as she watched Xu Qingfeng finish his soup. She also smiled and comforted him a few times before choosing to leave. Xu Qingfeng was deeply moved by this. Sign into the Divine Weapon Pavilion and congratulate the host on obtaining the Yijin Forging Gu Ju. Sign in to the Elder's Home and congratulate the host on obtaining the Blue Sea Tidal Life Skill. Sign in to the Tonic Diet Pavilion and congratulate the host on obtaining the 9-flower Jade Dew Pill. Time flies, half a year has passed in the blink of an eye. The night is dark and the wind is high, and the disciples of the miscellaneous work are in a remote cave on the mountainside. The slowly swaying campfire reflects the shadow of sitting cross-legged on the cave wall. With a crackling sound. Xu Qingfeng's forehead was slightly sweating until he exhaled a mist, which shot out more than 10 centimeters like an arrow before twisting and dissipating. I have reached the pinnacle of the 3rd tier. Xu Qingfeng felt the trickling internal power in his body, with an indescribable smile on his face. The martial arts level increases from weak to strong, including 3rd rate, 2nd rate, 1st class, and innate. Each level is further subdivided into 4 sub-levels: inferior, intermediate, superior, and peak. Being able to progress so quickly, from ordinary people to martial artists, to the peak of the 3rd tier at this time, the terrifying progress is enough to shock people all over the world. You should know that even the senior brother Qin Xianfeng, who stepped into the peak of the 3rd tier, took a full 4 years. As for Huang Rong, the 2nd senior sister with Xian-level qualifications, not to mention that she has only been practicing for 8 years and is now only of the 3rd class. Xu Qingfeng was able to settle in the mountains later, and it's hard to imagine how great his fate was. He obtained many treasures and more than 30 rebirth pills. After swallowing 10 of them, they became ineffective and his qualifications were worthy of reaching the mysterious level, but he was still somewhat unstable. Later on, he obtained the E-gene forging bone technique. With the effect of E-gene forging bone technique, his qualifications were elevated to a higher level in a short period of time, and he remained stable at the Xian level. Once this technique is completed, he will definitely be able to improve further. The system also has a special feature, where the information flow and recorded content clearly indicate all the difficulties, key points, techniques, and other insights. So he can instantly learn these techniques without spending a lot of time studying word by word. A mysterious level qualification can already be considered a genius. Since its establishment, Peach Blossom Island has had less than 100 disciples with mystical qualifications, and none of these people have become renowned experts. Senior brother Qin Xianfeng, with prefecture-level qualifications, is the first person on Taohua Island to have the highest qualifications besides Huang Yaoshi. He is one of the few who can compare with him in the martial arts world. He also deeply felt the differences in his qualifications, from weak to strong. A talent that does not enter the mainstream makes it extremely difficult to feel the qi mechanism and utilize internal energy. The difference is also reflected in the efficiency of pill conversion. For the same 9-flower Jade Dew pill, the utilization rate of pills with non-entry qualifications is only 10%, while those with yellow qualifications are 30%, those with Xian qualifications are 60%, and those with prefecture qualifications are 90%. The remaining essence of pills that have not been transformed will be wasted. This is also one of the reasons why Taohua Island has established entry-level assessments and disciple grading. After obtaining a mysterious level qualification, his cultivation speed greatly increased, and he began to cultivate the Blue Sea Tidal Life skill. But he said it was on Peach Blossom Island. Only the island owner can practice the Blue Sea Tidal Life skill. His qualifications are as exquisite as his senior brother Qin Xianfeng, and he cannot reach them until he obtains the identity of inheritor of the sect leader. However, Xu Qingfeng has mastered the complete Bihai Chao Xinggong. Of course, his vision and pattern are far beyond this. Bihai Chao Xinggong is a first-class internal skill, and looking at the entire southern region, there are few internal skills that can be compared to it. Although Xu Qingfeng has a clear understanding in his heart, he still has even more advanced and mysterious internal skills. But currently, this is his best internal skill and he has no choice. And when he can activate Xiaoyao Yufeng, he can easily turn various internal forces into his own, including the internal forces of the Blue Sea Tide life skill. After some contemplation, Xu Qingfeng decisively practiced the Blue Sea Tide life skill, and he couldn't wait for the appearance of higher-level internal skills. In the first month, he abandoned the most basic Peach Blossom Island heart technique and specialized in the Blue Sea Tidal life skill. With a foundation of mysterious qualifications, even with the divine power of the Blue Sea Tide, under normal circumstances, it would take him 7 years to reach the peak of the 3rd tier. However, in addition to his martial arts, he obtained a large number of pills such as 9 flower jade dew pills, and at least 1 bottle was obtained at a time of check.in, each bottle being 10 pills. These 2 types of pills can only be obtained once a month, even for inner disciples. The rest can only be exchanged through contributions. He has taken thousands of pills, even the most talented senior brother on Taohua Island, Chen Xianfeng, does not receive such treatment. All of this is why he easily caught up with his contemporaries in just 6 months. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 004 Never expose oneself without sufficient self-protection power. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the morning, Xu Qingfeng put on his sword and is going to patrol the Wave Peak today. Peach Blossom Island has 4 peaks and 13 pavilions. According to the rules of the Mountain Patrol and miscellaneous disciples, he patrols at a different location every week in the pavilions. Except for the Bibo Peak and the miscellaneous disciples peak, such as the Tide Peak, he can only go up the mountain during rotation. As for Tingqiao Peak, it is even more mysterious and significant. Only high-level officials and disciples from Taohua Island can step into it. If he dares to wander there, he may mistake it for another spy and be arrested and interrogated by the law enforcement office. As soon as I left the yard, a fragrant breeze blew in. Xu Qingfeng went from being alert to relaxed, but pretended not to notice the surprise attack. Guess who I am? A pair of tender hands behind him covered his eyes. It's too hard to guess. With the fragrance of high-quality powder, she must be a beautiful woman, an assassin. No, the assassin shouldn't have come to the miscellaneous disciple peak. Please spare your life, Wuxia, Xu Qingfeng retorted lightly. Ha ha ha, junior brother, you stinky kid, haven't seen you in half a year. Where did you learn to be so slick? The person who came is Huang Rong, who hasn't been here for a long time. 3 months ago, the other party often came to comfort Xu Qingfeng, but later left Peach Blossom Island with Huang Yaoshi due to participating in special disciple training. They only returned today. During this period, the head lady Feng Heng visited Xu Qingfeng twice. Xu Qingfeng turned around and instinctively looked around. Huang Rong was dressed in a chivalrous attire, with a sword around her waist and a chivalrous aura between her head and eyebrows. Just 2 months without seeing each other, Huang Rongyue has been charming and her most important strength has been elevated to the peak of 3rd rate. It seems that Huang Rong has gained a lot from this special training. I was worried that my junior brother would become decadent and sink. It seems that senior sister is being careless. Huang Rong nodded heavily, satisfied with Xu Qingfeng's full energy and energetic gaze. Here, a souvenir for you, the proud work of a famous swordsmith, the Qingfeng sword. Huang Rong took off her sword from her waist and casually threw it to Xu Qingfeng. Thank you, senior sister. Xu Qingfeng didn't refuse and happily drew his sword and waved it twice. Huang Rong felt lost in thought as she waved a few times, noticing something special. It seems that junior brother has been practicing Peach Blossom Island swordsmanship frequently. It's not in vain for me to keep talking about bringing you gifts, she said. She changed her tone and said, Junior brother, do you want to go back to Bibo Peak? Xu Qingfeng naturally understood that the other party meant to let him stay at Bibo Peak for a long time, rather than going to Bibo Peak as a guard. It's just that. A few miscellaneous disciples were specially recruited to take care of the inner disciples' clothing, food, and daily life, so that you can be with us every day. It's been 6 months now, and I think some people with ulterior motives will not spread idle gossip. Huang Rong quickly added. Taohua Island may seem united, but in reality, many people are staring at Huang Yaoshi's position. Once Huang Yaoshi engages in irregular behavior, such as caressing Xu Qingfeng or illegally teaching more advanced techniques, it will become a weapon for them to criticize Huang Yaoshi. This is also the reason why Feng Heng and her team did not provide greater help. Xu Qingfeng's face changed slightly and he waved his hand. Thank you very much for your kindness, senior sister. I'm staying here quite well, and elderly takes good care of me without any inconvenience. Huang Rong sighed and stopped insisting. Originally, stepping into the top of the third tier was a happy thing, but she didn't mention it. She patted Xu Qingfeng's shoulder, encouraged him with a few words, and said goodbye lightly. Then you often go back to the west courtyard, and my mother often talks about you. Xu Qingfeng watched her leave. Xu Qingfeng pulled out his newly acquired sword and saw the inscription on the blade. He flicked his fingers twice and made a crisp sound. Forged with refined iron, the sword casting technique is at an advanced level. At least it cost senior sister 100 taels of silver. Even if it were her, she would have accumulated more than half a year. Giving this to me would be like a pearl shrouded in dust in the eyes of outsiders. Xu Qingfeng laughed and murmured to himself. He once signed in and obtained a sword forging catalog, and his knowledge was not inferior to that of a senior sword forging master. Upon careful observation, he discovered the preciousness of this Qingfeng sword. Of course, I also increasingly felt the sincere friendship of Huang Rong, Feng Heng, and others. People like 4th senior brother and 5th senior brother who had studied art together also came to visit Xu Qingfeng. They are truly benevolent and righteous toward Xu Qingfeng. Xu Qingfeng was deeply concerned, but dared not express himself. He had a big secret about himself, and before he had enough self-protection power, he kept a respectful distance from masters like Huang Yaoshi and Feng Heng. Even if he has obtained the technique of restraining qi and conceals his strength excellently, even Huang Rong and Feng Heng, first-class experts, have not noticed it. However, if he has long-term contact, he may reveal some flaws. Pifu is innocent and harbors a guilty conscience. Everyone on Peach Blossom Island knows that Xu Qingfeng is not qualified to enter the mainstream. Breaking through the peak of third rate in half a year, even an idiot can know there is something fishy going on. At that time, Huang Yaoshi and Feng Heng could not protect him, and Xu Qingfeng had 100 lives that were not enough to die. Since ancient times, interests have moved people's hearts. When interests outweigh friendship, who can guarantee that these two people will not be distracted? This is also the reason why he resolutely rejected Huang Rong's proposal. Therefore, whether it is the check.in system or the exquisite techniques such as Yijin forging Guju that can strengthen Peach Blossom Island, he would not even consider taking these things to repay them without absolute strength. Sign into the Law Enforcement Pavilion and congratulate the host on obtaining 18 dragon subduing palms. Check in. 7 injury fist. Check in. Golden bell cover. Time flies like a white horse, 5 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Xu Qingfeng remained calm among the miscellaneous disciples. As a miscellaneous disciple, in the eyes of outsiders, he was seen as a useless person with a background. In the eyes of formal disciples, Xu Qingfeng became a negative teaching material, a warning to the new by the elderly. There are always people whispering behind their backs, "Do you know that person?" He was adopted by the island lord's wife since childhood, but due to his lack of ambition and talent, he ended up as a miscellaneous disciple. So, don't waste your time managing so-called networks and relationships. Peach Blossom Island. No, strength is paramount in the martial arts world. Like our senior brother Chen Xianfeng, who devoted himself to cultivation. Last month, he broke through to the peak of second rate and was known as one of the top 10 geniuses in the southern region along with Wudang Chuchen Gongzi, Shaolin Jinchanzi, and others. There are constantly people taking the initiative to show goodwill. 2 years ago, Wudang Yuanqiao Taoist gave him a pure yang pill. Last year, the leader of the Kunlun sect personally went up the mountain, hoping to form a marriage relationship with Taohua Island and betroth the Kunlun sect daughter to Xu Qingfeng. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. 005 cannot say that Huang Yaoshi is too weak, only that Xu Qingfeng is too strong. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. At the age of 20, Xu Qingfeng stepped into the pinnacle of second-rate cultivation and became the second fastest person in the history of Peach Blossom Island. Naturally, he would attract attention from everyone and quickly spread throughout the entire southern region. You should know that at the age of 20, it is the peak of a martial artist's muscles, bones, and meridians. The cultivation speed will once again increase by a certain level. Many older generations assert that within 10 years, Xu Qingfeng will definitely break through to the first-class realm. But what they didn't know was that Xu Qingfeng had already reached the first-class middle grade, and was only half a step away from the top grade. The entire Peach Blossom Island currently has only about 20 top-notch experts, and less than 10 of them have achieved intermediate or above strength. The facade figure of Peach Blossom Island, the most powerful Huang Yaoshi on the surface, is said to be top-notch. Over the course of more than 5 years, he gained numerous divine skills and magical techniques. He has basically acquired the well-known techniques of the top-ranked sect in the southern regions, and his experience and vision, whether it is the power of moves or advanced martial arts skills, easily surpass Huang Yaoshi. In terms of talent, he obtained the Yi Jin Jing and Shi Sui Jing through Check.in, and collected these 2 supreme treasures of Shaolin Temple, successfully taking his qualifications to the next level and reaching the prefecture level. A person with prefecture level qualifications, recorded in the entire southern region, has no more than 100 people and has grown up to be a dominant force. As for the heavenly level, it only exists in legends in the southern regions. As long as I can practice the Yi Jin Jing and Shi Sui Jing to perfection, or obtain more precious pills for improving qualifications than the rebirth and bone transformation pill. Heavenly level. It's not impossible, Xu Qingfeng speculated. In the middle of the night, at the residence of the leader of Bibo Peak, he listened to the tide and bid farewell to the courtyard. Suddenly, a sound came from outside the window, carrying a fierce murderous aura, causing Huang Yaoshi and Feng Heng on the bed to wake up one after another. Who is it? Huang Yaoshi stood up in an instant, grabbed the jade flute on the table, and flew out through the window, chasing the intruder. There was only one command left in mid-air: Sister Heng, immediately issue a warning signal and keep the entire island on alert. Upon hearing these words, Feng Heng immediately realized that he wanted to prevent the other party from diversifying and using the strategy of diverting the tiger from the mountain. In front of the cliff of Bibo Peak, a person wearing a nightgown stood with his head up at a 45-degree angle and his hands down. After about 3 breaths, Huang Yaoshi leapt into the air and chased after him. Without any nonsense, he decisively fired his sword at the back of the black-clothed man. Bang! A layer of pale golden light flashed through, releasing it in an extremely natural way, but Huang Yaoshi was shocked and stopped his attack directly. Vajra is not a bad divine skill. Are you a Buddhist or a member of Hulong Mountain Villa? Peach Blossom Island, Shaolin, and Hulong Mountain Villa have always kept their waters clean. When you come here late at night, you not only hide your head and tail, but also show your murderous aura. What does that mean? Huang Yaoshi cautiously gazed at the man in black, whose breath was unfathomable. He couldn't sense the depth, but his intuition made his hair stand up all over his body, and his sense of crisis was unprecedentedly strong. Who said that the one who knows how to maintain his divine power is from these 2 families? The black-clothed man did not turn around, but his voice was like a clash of gold and iron, which was very piercing to the ear. Huang Yaoshi frowned slightly. The Vajra immortal skill is not an ordinary skill. Apart from these 2 families, I have never heard of anyone else who knows such a skill. What is the purpose of your excellency intentionally bringing me here? Huang Yaoshi continued to explore. I am the dragon arrogant Tian. I have heard that the Lord of Huangdao has excellent martial arts skills and came specifically to seek advice. The man in black turned around and said, revealing the weapon in his hand, a twig that had been easily broken off. Long Outyin. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Huang Yaoshi only felt despised and even used branches as weapons. Who is he looking down upon? He was burning with anger, and the opponent's Kong not bad divine skill was enough to dominate the southern region, but he obviously had not heard of such a person. It must be a temporary fabricated name. Since you refuse to tell the truth, I'll fight until you say it. Huang Yaoshi shot out in an instant, his breath strong. 3 swords in a row, one sword faster than the other, pointing directly at the 3 vital points of the black-clothed man, including the eyes, neck, and chest. He thought in his heart that the other party would resist with the diamond immortal skill. The man in black, however, was calm and composed, with a branch attached to its internal force, seemingly sweeping casually. Instantly disintegrated Huang Yaoshi's attack. Huang Yaoshi's soul suddenly burst out, and the 2 moves of the opponent contained an endless amount of dark energy attached to them, like an endless wave. With a very small amount of internal energy, he removed most of his strength. Luoying Divine Sword. The man in black chuckled, there's still room for improvement. The other party chattered incessantly, pointing out the flaws in their swordsmanship. This is also the reason why it is easy to crack Huang Yaoshi's attack. Huang Yaoshi's attention was not focused on it, and he shouted in shock, this is the internal power of the Blue Sea Tide health skill. How could you know about the Blue Sea Tide health skill on Peach Blossom Island? Xu Qingfeng smiled silently and said, as long as you can defeat me, I can tell you anything you want to know. At least it's the leader of Peach Blossom Island, isn't the Falling Eagle Divine Sword your trump card? Huang Yaoshi's face was gloomy, and he suddenly made a move. The jade flute reflected moonlight, causing a beam of light to crisscross the dimly lit cliff, accompanied by fierce internal energy. One of the unique skills of Peach Blossom Island, the jade flute sword technique. The moves are subtle and exquisite, elegant, with Huang Yaoshi's profound internal power attached, leaving countless deep marks on the ground. With his full effort, he thought to himself that the number of people he could take over in the southern regions would not exceed his 2-handed index. But all the black-clothed people in front of me resisted, and they were only using a branch. What's even more shocking about Huang Yaoshi is that the opponent used the same moves to crack it. Luoying Divine Sword versus Luoying Divine Sword, Wuxiao Sword Technique versus Wuxiao Sword Technique. What defeated the man in black was not only his martial arts skills, but also his confidence that he had always had. Until the Jade Flute Sword Technique, the black-clothed man once again caught a loophole in Huang Yaoshi's sword technique and casually swept it away. The branch with thick internal power attached instantly knocked Huang Yaoshi away. The man in black scratched his head upon seeing the situation. He didn't expect to defeat Huang Yaoshi so easily. He also planned to try other divine skills he had obtained by signing in Puff. Huang Yaoshi spat out blood and was seriously injured. Xu Qingfeng was even more speechless when he saw this. Huang Yaoshi was at least a first class and top grade realm, and he was only now a first class and middle grade realm. Is he so resistant to being beaten? I can't say that Huang Yaoshi is too weak, I can only say that Xu Qingfeng is too strong. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Who is the peak at the end of Martial Road 006? At the sight of the clear wind, it will eventually become empty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In terms of martial arts cultivation, not to mention martial arts like Peach Blossom Island, Xu Qingfeng has a clear understanding of them, even more familiar than Huang Yaoshi, who has practiced Peach Blossom Island martial arts for a lifetime, and knows the shortcomings and loopholes in these martial arts. From the previous confrontation, it was clear that there were several flaws in the martial arts technique, which even Huang Yaoshi himself was unaware of. And there are countless other powerful and exquisite martial arts that are imprinted in Xu Qingfeng's instincts. His understanding of martial arts is beyond that of Huang Yaoshi. Almost at a glance, or the sound of weapons cutting through the air, he can accurately determine the opponent's intention and the flaws of the move through the changes in air flow. Of course, the key to Xu Qingfeng's easy defeat of Huang Yaoshi lies in his internal strength. Internal power is the foundation of all martial arts techniques. As long as the internal power is strong enough to break through all martial arts with one force, there is no need to use those fancy moves. After entering the first class realm, Xu Qingfeng was able to barely drive the Xiaoyao Yufeng. This method was much more powerful than Zio Wuxiang Gong Nijin Jing, easily transforming the internal energy of the blue sea tide into the true energy of Xiaoyao Yufeng. Xu Qingfeng has been able to convert the true qi in his body into corresponding internal forces at any time, and has obtained over 100 internal skills in recent years. Although he can't directly drive so many internal skills in his body, he can transform this wisp of genuine qi into these internal forces with special properties, such as the inborn skill internal power with long breath, the 9-yang manual internal power with strong endurance, and the icy genuine qi internal power with extreme yin and cold. Thus making it difficult for the enemy to parry with all kinds of unpredictable internal power characteristics. Just now, I suddenly transformed my internal power into Wudang Tai Chi, which is good at using softness to overcome hardness, and directly reduced the power of Huang Yaoshi's sword technique by 40%. In this way, Xu Qingfeng actually defeated Huang Yaoshi before using 50% of his strength. Huang Yaoshi, who was lying paralyzed on the ground, saw his jade flute fall to the side. At this moment, his face was full of fear, and he finally realized that Xu Qingfeng's true realm was one grade lower than him. Did you defeat him so easily? This is impossible. Huang Yaoshi was in a state of madness, ignoring his injuries and attempting to continue the battle. After wandering the martial arts world for so many years, he thought to himself that even if he was invincible in the same realm, he could basically maintain invincibility. However, the opponent casually broke off a branch and playfully defeated him. How can a person as proud as Huang Yaoshi tolerate this? Alright, that's it for today. Xu Qingfeng approached Huang Yaoshi purely because he had just made a breakthrough, and his heart was itching and unbearable. He wanted to find someone to try his hand on, so that he could have a clear understanding of his own strength. If Huang Yaoshi's confidence is greatly damaged and he becomes depressed from then on, it is not his intention. Huang Yaoshi tightly grasped the jade flute, but never made any moves. His hand holding the jade flute was trembling. If the other party had used a sword instead of a branch just now, he had already passed away in place. Xu Qingfeng fumbled for a medicine box in his arms and threw it in front of Huang Yaoshi. I'll take this to Huan Dan as a gift to you. I'm very satisfied with tonight's sparring, he said the famous Shaolin de Huan Dan. Not only can it treat injuries, but it can also greatly enhance skills. There were several land immortal level experts who went to Shaolin to seek medicine, but none of them succeeded. Is this suddenly emerging person just like throwing garbage? Is this really Shaolin de Huan Dan? Huang Yaoshi was stunned for a moment, and his subconscious reflexes caught him. At this moment, there were scattered footsteps coming from not far away. Hurry up, the enemy is at the top of the cliff. It's already blocked by the island owner. Everyone cheer me up to prevent the other party from fighting back on the brink of death. A series of cheers came in. The Lord of the Law Enforcement Pavilion, the Elder of the Outer Gate, the Elder of the Inner Gate, and a large number of disciples rushed to the scene. However, Huang Yaoshi's face slightly changed. He knew very well that the other party had the ability to sweep the entire Peach Blossom Island. Even if he used the foundation of Peach Blossom Island, he might not be able to take advantage. But the other party has the Peach Blossom Island Town Sec's internal skill, the Blue Sea Tide generates skill, and this skill is absolutely not allowed to be leaked. Otherwise, what would Huang Yaoshi look like to meet the ancestors of Peach Blossom Island? I saw a murderous expression on his face, and he had already made a decision in his heart. Anyway, the other party must give an explanation. Who is the peak at the end of the martial arts road? At the sight of the clear wind, it will eventually become empty. Lord Huang Dao, let's meet again tomorrow. At this moment, the mysterious person burst out laughing heartily, and under the incredulous gaze of everyone, turned around and plunged towards the bottom of the cliff, disappearing into the vast night like a shooting star. The people who arrived at Peach Blossom Island arrived together at the edge of the cliff, one by one stunned. The cliff of Bibo Peak has a depth of over 1,000 zhan. Not to mention Huang Yaoshi, even experts at the land immortal level may not be able to survive. This person is simply terrifying. Land immortals. They are experts in the realm of land immortals. Occasionally, people exclaim in surprise. Not far from the top of the cliff, Xu Qingfeng suddenly took advantage of Wudong's unparalleled lightness skill, ladder cloud leap, and leaped to a protruding platform. He sat cross-legged and murmured to himself, this cliff must be 1,000 feet high. Even if my strength is 10 times stronger than now, I cannot be safe and sound. It's just that Xu Qingfeng had stepped on some before and had already found a way out. After they left, he could use the wall swimming tiger technique to go up. Of course, even so, it's impossible for an average top-notch expert to achieve it. Feng Heng's face turned pale. Are you okay, pharmacist? Huang Yaoshi silently stuffed the porcelain bottle into his arms, wiped the bloodstains from the corners of his mouth, and said, I'm not in any big trouble. This person didn't do anything heavy. Elder Yu and Elder Wang, please immediately take someone to count the items in the library and divine weapon pavilion. Yes, the island owner. Huang's senior brother, for no apparent reason, how could such a powerful enemy come up the mountain? Judging from the scene just now, he is definitely a land immortal expert. Don't you have anything to explain? Suddenly, a middle-aged man with a cold face in the crowd asked with a gloomy expression. This person usually covets the position of Huang Yaoshi's leader, but the gap between him and Huang Yaoshi is too big. At this time, he can't help but come out to give Huang Yaoshi medicine. Hee, what kind of people don't exist in the world? What do you want me to explain? Is it difficult that something happened on Peach Blossom Island? You didn't first find out the reason for the incident, but instead came to question me, the island owner. Are you too ignorant of the importance, junior brother? Huang Yaoshi turned around and walked back without even looking at the other person. Fei Lu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. 007 These called Noble and Righteous Hypocrites. Favorite set in person and back. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. That evening, the senior management of Taohua Island urgently held a meeting to inspect the important areas on the island and found that no treasures or secret books were lost. Regarding the situation of the black-clothed man, Huang Yaoshi did not mention the fact that the Blue Sea Tide life skill and the other party's mastery of the secrets of Peach Blossom Island martial arts were not to be exposed, otherwise it would cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. It wasn't until midnight that Huang Yaoshi and his wife Feng Heng returned to their residence. Mastering all the martial arts of Peach Blossom Island and mastering the Diamond Immortal skill. It's simply shocking. This is really unbelievable. Facing his wife Feng Heng, Huang Yaoshi did not conceal anything, and Feng Heng instinctively felt incredulous upon hearing this. Huang Yaoshi had a bitter smile on his face. The impact this black-clad man had on him tonight had left him unable to calm down for a long time. Take out the medicine box, pour out the pills inside, and in the next moment, the fragrance of the medicine fills the nose. The fragrance alone makes the internal energy in the body restless. Shaolin de Huan Dan. Feng Heng stared thoughtfully, you should be able to take it with peace of mind. After all, even with the strength of the other party, even if our Peach Blossom Island heritage is fully utilized, they may not be able to handle it, so there is no need for them to use shady methods. Huang Yaoshi nodded and said, "This Taohua Dan can not only easily heal my injuries, but also dispel the dark wounds left in my body before. With this opportunity, I am likely to break through to the top level." What happened tonight was not just a disaster for him, but an opportunity for him. What he couldn't understand was that the other party gave the precious Taohua Dan so lightly. Perhaps that senior is a reclusive expert who stole the martial arts of Peach Blossom Island, so he used this Taohua Dan as compensation for us. Feng Heng frowned. If it were for the martial arts of Peach Blossom Island as an exchange condition, I wouldn't be able to agree. Huang Yaoshi clenched his fist unwillingly, but his gaze was extremely complex. Has this person reached the land god immortal realm, which is not the first class intermediate level I feel? What happened tonight is really strange. He burned out the CPU and couldn't figure it out. It is a great shame for any sect to have outsiders break into the sect headquarters and injure the contemporary leader. Even though Huang Yaoshi and the senior management repeatedly ordered that no one should disclose this matter, as the saying goes, there is no airtight wall in the world. For a while, Peach Blossom Island became a big joke for many people in the martial arts world after tea and dinner. Of course, no one knows that Huang Yaoshi benefited from misfortune and obtained the highly cherished Shaolin Taohua Dan. If he knew, he would definitely break his head and compete for a rare Taohua Dan at the cost of being laughed at by others. This business is really profitable, isn't it? The next day, Huang Yaoshi announced to the public that he was going into seclusion to heal his injuries. The leader is closed and cannot be easily used, causing the forces that were originally eyeing Peach Blossom Island to become restless. Among them are the forces of the top 10 factions. The 10 major factions are only superficially harmonious, but there are also many gaps in the dark, which involve the 100-year-long war between the 3 major dynasties of the southern regions, namely the Yuan, Song, and Ming. The major sects were based within the dynasty, and even if the sects were strong, they could not resist the army of the court. Under the influence of the dynasty, disciples of the major sects joined the battlefield one after another and had to fight on the battlefield. Death became a common occurrence, and the hatred between them grew stronger. In the end, it evolved to no longer require the court's coercion, and the major sects volunteered to participate in the war. Until decades ago, martial arts myths were sold anonymously, and they attacked the battlefield anonymously, taking the rank of a general among thousands of soldiers and directly killing the highest commanders of the 3 major dynasties. For a moment, the court and the public shook, and the lords of each dynasty were panicked and uneasy, ceasing hostilities. Nameless was crowned as the leader of the Martial Arts Alliance, which brought decades of stability to the martial arts world. The 3 major dynasties and the 10 major sects appeared to be harmonious on the surface, but in reality, their faces and hearts were at odds. At this moment, Huang Yaoshi was seriously injured and his balance was disrupted, causing some people to start thinking crookedly. There are both members of the top 10 sects and hostile forces against the imperial court, but among them, the most active is mainly the demon sect. Chaotic times are the most fertile soil for the survival of demon sections. It is said that the chaos of several dynasties was also caused by the shadows of several major demon sects instigating them. However, the appearance of the unknown caused their plans to be stillborn, and it is unknown how many masters of the demon sects died in the hands of the unknown. Several major demonic sects have also been counterattacked by the 3 major dynasties, and their living environment has been greatly oppressed. They dare not walk openly in the sunlight. Amidst the bonfire, dozens of people stood tall in a hidden cave, all of whom were evil spirits with their faces covered in hooded cloaks. Huang Yaoshi is seriously injured. Can you confirm the authenticity? These so-called righteous sects are really too cunning. 10 years ago, Xianxia sect used this strategy, causing us heavy losses. The Blood Demon Sword was stolen from Peach Blossom Island, and the accumulated natural resources and treasures were also stolen by Chuanjian sect. Someone said with great sadness and indignation. It is precisely because of this experience that Mingjiao has completely declined and has been struggling in the dark for years. This person's words made the people next to him furious. You're right, we have to be careful. These so-called noble and righteous hypocrites. They love to set things up in front of each other and behind their backs, even putting gold on their own faces and saying that war never tires of deceit. It's really despicable. After a while, a figure on the high platform waved to stop the excited crowd. All right, I've confirmed this news multiple times and there won't be any mistakes. This is a great time for us to regain the Blood Demon Sword. In Peach Blossom Island, without Huang Yaoshi, there's no need to worry. A few years ago, the Mingjiao garrison located in the Ming dynasty was exposed and surrounded by several major forces. Among them, Taohua Island was the most despicable, killing countless members of the Mingjiao and even stealing the precious blood magic sword of the Mingjiao. Yes, this is a godsend opportunity. We all know the heritage of Peach Blossom Island in our hearts. Their supreme elder has not had many years to live, so they dare not take action easily, otherwise he won't be able to live for a few days. This old immortal is too old, and Yang Yuan has not left a drop. I don't want to waste my strength in vain. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. The advantage of being able to deal with this master is that she is really willing to give it. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On the left side, a long-legged beautiful woman wearing a cloak still revealing half of her plump figure, covering her lips and giggling profusely. Humph, Dragon King, you, along with Lion King and Bat King, went to destroy the stronghold of Peach Blossom Island at Human Pass. Try to be as cruel as possible, and make sure to lure the high-level officials of Peach Blossom Island to investigate and lure him away from the mountain. Left Envoy, this time we need you to be the vanguard. With your martial arts skills, you can easily infiltrate Peach Blossom Island. Coupled with the Great Xianxia movement, you can perfectly stimulate the power of the Blood Demon Sword. Once you successfully obtain the Blood Demon Sword, Peach Blossom Island will use its foundation and cannot stop you from descending the mountain. For commanders of heaven, earth, wind, and thunder, please arrange for good men to receive the left commander at the foot of the mountain. On the high platform, the leader of the Mingjiao sect gave orders, his eyes flashing with anger. I must stay here all the time. In less than 3 months, my injury will recover, and I will return to the land god immortal realm, along with the lost Blood Demon Sword. We Mingjiao no longer need to hide and seek. The people below all showed excitement upon hearing this. No problem, I will bring the Blood Demon Sword back, said a figure in the crowd who looked somewhat charming and composed. Left Envoy Yang Xiao. At the top of the class, before the leader's injury healed, he is currently the strongest of the Ming sect. You said, you child, there are wild beasts lurking in the deep forest of Peach Blossom Island. It's really dangerous. Don't run deep in the future. Listening to the tide, Feng Heng accepted a ginseng plant sent by Xu Qingfeng. This was obtained by Xu Qingfeng's check.in, and he took the opportunity to give it to Feng Heng. He used it as an excuse to hear that Huang Yaoshi was injured and gave him a body repair. The hidden large pill was enough to repay their kindness. You should know that Xu Qingfeng has signed in for such a long time, and now there are only 10 left. Keep them for future use. Of course, emotions are different from goods, and it's not just about how much you give that can offset it. It's about treating each other coldly as it should be. At least for now, Xu Qingfeng treats them like family members. Apart from his own secrets that cannot be revealed, he will give them some of the things he receives from check.in when he has the opportunity. Feng Heng, with a graceful demeanor, scrutinized Xu Qingfeng and paused before saying, Qingfeng, are you 18 years old now? Although you can't learn more advanced martial arts of Peach Blossom Island, I have seen the 9E manual. There are some martial arts you can learn, which does not violate the rules of Peach Blossom Island. Later, when you have a rest in the evening, you will come to the Chaobi Temple, and I will pass on the martial arts to you. Feng Heng spoke softly. The 9-in Manual. Although the 9-in Manual is very famous, Xu Qingfeng has already obtained it by signing in. Xu Qingfeng hesitated on the surface and said, "Thank you, Xianxia. Sign in to listen to the tide and bid farewell to the courtyard. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the retreat decision. Xu Qingfeng didn't forget to sign in before leaving. The technique of gathering breath is much more advanced than ordinary techniques of hiding breath, and has a very extraordinary effect. As long as he reaches a perfect level of cultivation, there will be land immortal experts in front of him in the future, and he will definitely not be able to discern Xu Qingfeng's uniqueness. This secret method is not difficult, but it is too simple for Xu Qingfeng. After all, it was obtained through check.in, and he quickly restrained his breath. At noon, Xu Qingfeng returned to the peak of miscellaneous disciples. The atmosphere felt somewhat unusual, with everyone looking solemn and gathered at the martial arts arena. Just received some bad news. The Taohua Island office in the territory of Human Pass was directly wiped out, with over 100 people from all walks of life in the office. The person in charge, Song Hongqing, and the inner martial uncle of Bibo Peak, were all dismembered by random knives. The miscellaneous disciple, Elder Feng Li Tai, and other high-ranking officials all had a solemn expression. The disciples below were in an uproar. Even though they knew something urgent had happened, they didn't expect it to be such a serious matter. The Human Pass office has been destroyed, and the person in charge has been dismembered. No matter what the reason is, this is a blatant provocation against Peach Blossom Island. Not long ago, although the leader was injured, it was not a big deal. At most, he was mocked for a while, but the Human Pass office was destroyed. If this is not handled properly, Peach Blossom Island will become a joke in the martial arts world. Now I order that all Peach Blossom Island be under martial law. Add 100 patrol and miscellaneous disciples. We must take 10 steps and guard every entrance of Peach Blossom Island strictly. In units of 20 people, the person whose name I read below is the leader of a group. Elder Li Tai loudly announced the order. Although he is only a second-rate peak warrior, as the elder in charge of the vast miscellaneous disciple peak, he is one of the absolute high-ranking officials. Xu Qingfeng stayed quietly in the corner. About an hour later, all the members of the miscellaneous disciple Feng were assigned corresponding responsibilities. Xu Qingfeng, without any accidents, was taken care of by Li Tai. Xu Qingfeng, the Bibafeng pantry is short of manpower. You can go to the pantry today to help. Bibo Peak, where the main hall of Peach Blossom Island is located, can be said to have very high safety. It is also in an inconspicuous dining room. If there are really enemies attacking, they will not sneak into the dining room. After all, it has no significance. Many miscellaneous disciples show jealousy in their eyes. As miscellaneous disciples, why does Xu Qingfeng enjoy special treatment? Xu Qingfeng turned a blind eye to those gazes and said, "Okay, thank you, elder." After receiving the task, Xu Qingfeng went to the waste dining room of Bibafeng Mountain. To be honest, the dining room is a place that miscellaneous disciples often yearn for. On the one hand, work is easy and safe, and on the other hand, it also includes the food of inner disciples and true disciples. The food is very good, and anyone with a heart can secretly eat some. Just entered the dining room. What a nice guy. There are quite a few people coming to help, and even some external disciples are pretending to help inside. It is obvious that these have backgrounds but average abilities, so they were arranged to help here. Xu Qingfeng is inconspicuous in the team. Early the next morning, Feng Heng and several elders led numerous disciples and inner disciples to Human Pass. It is said that the culprit of the extermination incident has already gained some recognition. After all, in the Ming dynasty, there were very few who had the courage to do these things. They have listed all these forces, and as long as they investigate one by one, they can quickly identify the culprit. The Kunlun sect, located very close to Human Pass and friendly with Taohua Island, also sent people to support. Such a luxurious lineup is enough to deal with any demon cult power. Xu Qingfeng naturally didn't bother to pay attention and started working in the cafeteria without attracting attention. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. On the surface, 009 is full of benevolence, righteousness, and morality, but in the end, he is not greedy for the power of holy soldiers. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In the blink of an eye, half a month has passed. During this period, Xu Qingfeng signed in and obtained a heavenly and earthly treasure called Blood Bodhi, which is much more precious than the Dahuan pill and has the effect of healing without damage and increasing power. After swallowing and digesting the medicinal power, Xu Qingfeng saved 5 years of hard work and stepped into the top grade in one fell swoop. The spiritual energy index of Check.in at the Bibo Hall has significantly decreased, and there are also few important areas left in the Sutra Pavilion and Divine Weapon Pavilion. In the corner, Xu Qingfeng was slowly washing vegetables in his hands. But in my heart, I am calculating where to sign in today. The lower the spiritual energy index, the lower the probability of obtaining good things. He has pulled down the 2 places of the miscellaneous disciples Feng and Bibo Feng many times. He rarely goes to the wave peak, mainly because in the past, he felt a sense of decay at the wave peak. It appeared from the top of the mountain, giving him a great sense of crisis, much stronger than the first class realm. Elder Duanifei, who lived in seclusion on Peach Blossom Island, is the strongest person on the surface of Peach Blossom Island. It is said that he has already stepped into the realm of land immortals. But Xu Qingfeng suspected that there might be true experts in the land immortal realm on Peach Blossom Island, but for some reason, it seemed like they could only huddle at the top of the wave peak. For the sake of caution, he only checked in on the outskirts of the wave peak and did not delve further. Another important location is called Tingqiao Peak. There are 2 places on Tingqiao Peak, the Sword Burial Pool and the Heroic Spirit Temple. One is the burial place for countless ancestors on Peach Blossom Island, and the other is the burial ground for their bones. Those who can be buried in it are all disciples who have made great contributions to Peach Blossom Island and are basically of high strength. Although there may not seem to be any danger on the surface, every time Xu Qingfeng approaches Tingqiao Peak, there is always an inexplicable heart pounding, indicating a great danger above. But now the situation is different. You can take advantage of the chaos and sneak in, and the combination of the learned restraint and disguise techniques and the previous Check.in can perfectly conceal his identity, making it difficult for people to recognize him. Even if it's really discovered, can't we still escape if we can't fight? With the many skills he has gained from checking in, if he is determined to leave, no one can stop him. In the quiet of the night, Xu Qingfeng, who had disguised himself and changed his appearance, couldn't even recognize Feng Heng and Huang Rong when they came to him now. He quietly left the miscellaneous disciple academy without attracting anyone's attention. Not long after, he touched the foot of Tingqiao Peak. There was a guard at the entrance, and every once in a while, miscellaneous disciples would patrol with torches. A top-notch expert can already see things at night, at a distance of about 30 meters. But Xu Qingfeng was able to see within a range of 300 meters, which was not only a bonus to top-level internal mental skills, but also a secret technique to reach a perfect state, enhancing his vision. Without much effort, Xu Qingfeng sneaked into Tingqiao Peak after avoiding 2 top-notch elders on the mountain slope. But then he realized that starting from the mountainside, he had never seen anyone patrolling again, which seemed somewhat unusual. If there is nothing important about listening to the Tide Peak, there is no need to waste so much manpower and send people to patrol so closely. If there are any, wouldn't it be fragrant to let the 2 elders sit in it directly? Why is it arranged at the entrance? Suddenly, a chaotic aura surged from the direction of the burial sword pool, restraining the true qi and the demonic qi. However, the demonic qi gradually came from behind, and a fishy wind rushed toward Xu Qingfeng's face. Until then, Xu Qingfeng finally gained some insight into the previous situation. The answer lies in the fact that this demonic aura is filled with a bloody and violent aura. The fierce impact made even Xu Qingfeng feel a bit manic, generating a slight desire to kill. However, Xu Qingfeng possesses a carefree and windward aura, and in order to make him lose his sanity, this demonic aura can only be increased tenfold. Xu Qingfeng decisively utilizes the I Jin Jing and the Vajra immortal skill, combining internal and external elements. This is the highest level of Buddhist mind technique, and it is a combination of internal and external factors, which has a bloodline suppression effect on demonic energy. In an instant, Xu Qingfeng had a majestic appearance, and even if the demonic energy entered his body, it could not shake his mind and he was rapidly purified. Whether it's an inner sect or a disciple passed down from birth, if they are impacted by this aura, at least their temperament will be greatly affected, and at worst, they will directly leave a mental barrier. Even those elders with slightly weaker internal strength or lack of cultivation and restraint in internal skills can easily be affected by one mistake. No wonder those two elders dare not patrol deeply. Xu Qingfeng thought to himself, but his figure quickly approached the source. He had already noticed the unusual movement in the burial sword pool, which did not seem to be naturally formed, but rather artificial. After a few breaths, he arrived at the edge of the sword burial pool. What caught the eye was a vast pool, with countless broken swords and blades slanting on the ground. Each incomplete weapon, although its breath is weak, cannot withstand a large amount. When combined, it eventually forms a huge and majestic aura, suppressing the restless demonic energy. It seems that the layout of the burial sword pool presents a mysterious formation of the 5 elements and 8 trigrams, which is why this majestic aura can be gathered together. What a group of hypocrites! Originally, I wanted to suppress the demonic energy with the heroic spirit of the ancestors of Peach Blossom Island throughout history, attempting to eliminate the demonic energy within the sword and transform this holy weapon into a righteous divine weapon. It's really despicable. Our Mingjiao has spent so much manpower and material resources to successfully refine this sword. You are so easy to pick peaches, how could there be such a cheap thing? On the surface, you are full of benevolence, righteousness, and morality, saying nothing can stop us, causing various tragedies. Now, are you still coveting this holy weapon and not destroying it? Humph, the blood demon sword has already dissipated a lot of demonic energy. In the future, the blood demon sword must kill again to make up for the missing power. You Peach Blossom Island must bear at least half of the responsibility. Ha ha ha. Schwa. Amidst the violent and eerie demonic aura, a rather graceful figure suddenly pulled out a sword from the ground. In the next moment, the demonic energy rises sharply. In the burial pool, some of the broken swords kept buzzing and then exploded with a loud roar. The majestic aura that enveloped the burial sword pool dissipated instantly, revealing its true essence. Xu Qingfeng also saw the situation inside clearly. A long sword with blood red all over its body, the color was very enchanting, making people feel uncomfortable at a glance. It seems that not only does the aura emitted by this sword have a mental impact, but its external image also contains a strange effect that confuses the heart. Blood demon sword. Xu Qingfeng pondered. The formation of the burial sword pool was to transform this demon sword into a righteous divine weapon. Fei Lu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good.